Hello guys, and welcome to my channel. In this video I'll be showing you how I made this really cute ruffled wrap dress. So if you're interested in how I achieved this look, please stay tuned. Alright guys, let's get started. I have about 3 yards of this lightweight cotton printed fabric, a t-shirt, and a pencil skirt to trace for the patterns. I take the t-shirt and fold it in half. Then I fold on a diagonal from the right inner shoulder point to the left bottom corner. I trace around the shirt, then trace a slight curve on the diagonal to create a deep V-neck line for the top. After tracing and cutting onto the craft paper, I have the pattern for the top front of the dress. I use the same pattern piece for the back of the top by folding the bottom in half and placing the straight half edge on the fold of the fabric. I cut 2 of the same pieces for the top front on opposite sides of the fabric and 1 piece for the back of the top. I lay my pencil skirt onto the craft paper. Then I added length to the waistline of the skirt to match the measurement of the waistline to the top half of the dress. Then I trace a curve on a diagonal from the bottom right corner to the top left corner of the waistline. Just like the top, I use the same pattern piece for the back of the bottom by folding the top in half and placing the straight half edge on the fold of the fabric. Again, I cut 2 of the same pieces for the bottom front on opposite sides of the fabric and the back of the bottom. First, I decided that I wanted sleeves, so I traced and cut the patterns for the sleeves and cuffs, but I'll show you what I did differently a little later. Moving on, I take the left side of the top and bottom and line them together at the waistline, right sides facing in, and sew straight across. I do the same for the other side. I also take the top and bottom pieces to the back and do the same. I take the back piece and both the left and right front pieces and line the shoulders together, right sides facing in, then I pin and sew across. To attach the sleeves, I line the armhole seam and the center point of the sleeve, right sides facing in, then pin and sew along the curve. Then I pin the underarm seams together. I line the waistline seams together on the left side and measure a ½ inch from the seam on both sides and pin to mark an inch opening for the strap. I line the underarm and waistline seams together on the other side and sew straight down. On the left side, I sew straight down to the first pin, then stop, then start again at the second pin, then continue to sew all the way down. So here's the point where I decided to cut off the sleeves, and I'll show you how I turned it into this short ruffle sleeve instead. I took the sleeve that I cut off, then cut the seam off from the bottom and the seam around the top, then I cut straight down the fold. I take the 2 halves and I sew the ends together, right sides facing in. After sewing the ends together, I cut off the excess fabric. I hem the straight edge at the bottom by folding over 1/4 of an inch twice and pinning in place. Then I sew straight across. I sew a base stitch on the other side and pull to gather the ruffles to align with the measurement of the armhole with the ½ inch added on each end. Starting at the underarm seam, I take one end of the ruffled sleeve and overlap an ½ inch from the seam front facing in and pin. Then I take the center point of the sleeve and the shoulder seam and pin together. I take and overlap the other end of the sleeve a 1/2 inch over at the underarm seam and pin. Then I continue adjusting and pinning around. Now I sew around with the straight stitch. I also sew an overlock stitch along the raw edges for a clean finish. Next, I sew a top stitch around the seam of the sleeve. Now the sleeves are attached and complete. I took the measurement of the front curve of the skirt on the left side, half of the right side, and the bottom of the back, then added half of that same measurement to measure the length of the ruffle at 6 inches wide. I hemmed and base stitched, then gathered the ruffles like I did for the sleeves. Starting at the beginning of the curve of the skirt at the waistline on the left side, I line one end of the ruffle and the raw ends together, front facing in, then start pinning together. I adjust the ruffles as I pin to make sure I end at the middle of the right side of the curve on the other side of the dress. After pinning the ruffle on, I sew a straight stitch from one end of the ruffle to the other. I also made sure to overlock stitch along the raw edges. After attaching the ruffle, I sew a top stitch along the seam. I also hem the neckline along the top of the dress. I add straps at the waistline on both sides of the dress, and I'll show you how I made them. I used the measurement of my waist times 2 for the length of the straps at 4 inches wide. I fold it in half and sew across the top, curving into the corner at the end. Then I cut the excess fabric off. I take my loop turner, which kind of reminds me of a crochet hook. I insert the loop turner inside the strap, then latch hook at the end and begin to pull inside out. And now the strap is complete. To attach the straps, I fold a 1/2 inch under at the ends and center it at the waistline seam on the inside of the dress. Then I sew in place on all 4 sides. To wrap the dress, I pull the right strap through the left waistline opening, then I pull both straps across the back and tie in the front. And now the dress is complete. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!